I can share like there are at least few roles that have something in common. They are kind of in between the engineering team and the business team. So for these particular roles, I can kind of share the titles. It would be kind of product owner or program manager, program delivery lead. They all have to have kind of a good communication skills. This is something really crucial. It's not someone who will kind of get into the job and.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Sporting Global podcast. And today I'm here with Milosh. And Milosh, first of all, thanks for taking the time. How's our life doing these days? How are you?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me here. I'm quite happy to be here. Everything's fine, to be honest. The sun is shining today. It's kind of an awkward thing for Germany, but yeah. I'm happy with it, and happy to be here.
Well, it's great to have you here, of course. And for those that are tuning in, we're going to dive a little bit into Milosh's career, see a little bit of what he's been up to, a little bit about, some tips, advice you have. And since you're working in the talent acquisition space, there's always some great tips, maybe like some common mistakes people are doing that you're going to talk about as well. But why don't we just start a little bit in the basics, like, talk a little bit about how your journey in sport industry began. Take us a little bit how things started for you.
Yeah, it's pretty common thing, to be honest. My background is pretty straightforward. I played football until my kind of 19 year of age. I went through several academies back where in my home country. I didn't make the pros. That's unfortunately. Otherwise, I would be kind of playing in Arsenal these days. No, I'm joking. That was kind of the goal that I had as a child to become a professional athlete, but it ended up to kind of the passion that I had for sports to be my professional passion, and I kind of started my career on one way or another through Amazon back then, working my way, kind of engaging in our HR and recruitment, getting to know everything that goes with people. Besides that, I would say, as I was a little kid, I knew to understand people, and that was the perfect combination to work with people. And from there on, that was kind of my goal, slowly to point my career towards sport direction. And I ended up to get a job at DAZN. But before that, I worked for, 3.5 years as a freelancer in a kind of data collections. And that was kind of the most important thing that always kind of kept me in stadiums and kept me in a sports industry, and kind of gave me a true direction that whenever I gonna kind of think of anything professional, I would kind of associate that with sports. And currently I'm at Sportradar, another sports company, and I'm quite happy to be here.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, like it's that passion. I think we all had a dream, for playing in the Premier League. I wouldn't say maybe Arsenal, but it's fun to have a Norwegian guy there as well. So I assume maybe you're an Arsenal fan since you brought that up.
Yeah, for sure. And kind of knowing that Martin Odegaard is playing there and he's kind of the captain, and I kind of was more than happy to find out that you're a Norwegian, and therefore, I brought that up.
Well, I appreciate that. So talk a little bit about, obviously, your role at Sportradar. You're the talent acquisition partner. What are some of your key responsibilities? What are some of your tasks that you have in that role?
Yeah, as a part of a talent acquisition as a talent acquisition team, I would say kind of there are a lot of tasks that are kind of involved in a certain job description and that are not involved in a certain job description. My responsibility itself are kind of the full and management and control of all recruitment activities that are going around the DACH market, more or less, kind of, or especially in Germany, because we have 3 sites or 3 offices in Germany. One is kind of in the Munich area.
Yep.
The other one is in the upper part of Germany, in Bremen, and the third one is in Gera. It's kind of the eastern part of Germany. And kind of that are kind of one of my key responsibilities to oversee and control all recruiting activities. Besides that, I would say I'm a kind of the primary point of contact for internal stakeholders regarding hiring new people and processes and optimization of everything that goes with new employees, potential ideas, recruiting strategies, and stuff. Third, I would say, and the key, one of the most important thing is about providing exceptional candidate experience, which is kind of really important thing these days.
Right.
Because I want always to be transparent with everyone. I want to be treated fairly, and I do that when I speak with my candidates and the potential candidates. I'm from day one. I'm open to them. I share all information that I can share with them. I never kind of put them in a difficult situation, and that's kind of providing a healthy and exceptional customer experience is I would say the most important thing for my role. And let me sum it kind of in a one bigger way. It would be kind of my role itself is to be a face of a company, because a lot of people don't know what, for example, Sportradar does, and they are kind of the first person they are kind of meeting is myself, and I'm kind of their go-to person until they kind of start to work there, work for a certain company. And the whole first impression and everything else, it's kind of called first impression because you have just one opportunity, and that's kind of my role itself, to be the person to not improve, but I would say kind of to impersonalize people and kind of make them exciting about Sportradar. That's kind of the overall some of my role.
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think you're talking about, something very important is that, it's equally important for you guys and the company to express that personality and that communication, right, with the potential candidates. Because I mean, like, you know how it is these days as well. It's not just about, finding a job in sport or finding, a career, but finding companies which you align with, right? And then there's obviously a company's reputation, which is
Sure.
very important these days as well, especially in the upcoming generation. Talk a bit about that kind of shift, I guess, in a sense of expectations, perhaps, in a sense, from the candidates, in terms of just that transparency, that openness.
Yeah. I've noticed kind of in the past few years that kind of people are kind of changing, and there are a lot of different generations kind of coming to the market, and everyone has their own different expectation. And the most valued thing from everyone, or from my experience, is when someone goes on a same level with the candidate, when I offer them a open conversation. It's not about kind of I put them in a way, I fire 30 questions and they kind of just need to respond. It's more like an open conversation like we have right now.
Right.
They're allowed to ask me anything. I never kind of tend to put them in a weird situation when I'm not sharing any information about a company, about a business, or anything else. I'm kind of providing them or accepting them in open hands, as something that I usually do with everyone that I speak, no matter where they where they're coming from, or what kind of gender they have, to be honest. Because especially it's in these days, in 21st century, it would be kind of funny to have such ideas to divide people in a certain way. So treating everyone equal is something that I stand for, and kind of showing them the respect that they deserve, because they invest a lot of time in preparing their application, responding to my emails, for example, or responding to my requests about references or additional cover letters or whatsoever. So therefore, I value their time, and kind of provide them with the whole transparency that they need.
Absolutely. No, it makes total sense. And talking about some lessons you learned from your previous role. Obviously, before Sportradar, you work with the Sun Group in a similar role. Like, what are some of the lessons you learned from that company, from being there, that you're kind of taking with you now in Sportradar?
The Zone Group. The Zone was kind of a pretty fast-paced company, and I'm pretty happy that I came to a Sportradar, which has the similar culture on being kind of a fast-paced environment, even
Right.
if it's kind of even bigger company and it's public company, which people will assume, yeah, could take a while till something gets approved. But in other cases, the things that I brought from the Zone to Sportradar are kind of best cases on how to attract people and how to achieve people in a certain way. How can we kind of reach to people, different sourcing strategies. That's kind of the ideas that I had, or not the ideas that the Zone provided on a regular basis, where we kind of gather together and kind of discuss certain ideas with involving hiring managers as a kind of potential target persons. And this is kind of something that are kind of key lessons that I brought to Sportradar, at least, and I'm looking forward to optimize them and kind of bring them into daily practice. To that kind of key lessons is also kind of working with a lot of different nationalities, because in the Zone I was mostly supporting business support roles and tech roles, to be honest, and working with stakeholders from all around the world,
Right.
and able to manage my own time management was kind of something that I learned from both companies, because previously I was struggling with one or the other. Better communication, to say it's kind of something that a way I can communicate with stakeholders is something as a key lesson that I brought from there. And yeah, it was a really nice experience, but I'm looking forward to next chapter.
Absolutely. It's all part of the journey, right? And just looking into, the good things, the bad things,
Mhm.
what we're learning from it. And talking a bit about, obviously working on the talent acquisition things aside. What are some typical mistakes you see when people are applying for jobs in the sport industry? What are some common
Um,
things you've seen over the years?
Um, I would say kind of I saw a lot of different CVs, and the one of the key mistake that a lot of people are doing, they're kind of describing their task in really general way. That
Mm,
you cannot really assume, or someone who's not from a uh, from a um, from a certain area cannot fully understand, or could understand, but it's too general. And for certain experts, it's kind of a an issue, because they want to see what really a certain person has done in their previous task. It's not about supporting stakeholders. What kind of stakeholders was more kind of involved? Who do you report to? What was the structure of the team? For example, the job titles is also kind of also a question mark always. For example, someone could be a senior, for example, in my case, senior TA partner, but has a kind of a team of 10 and leads team of 10. And someone else could be a kind of team leader, but has kind of just 2 or 3 interns reporting to them. And this to make clear and kind of have a better description in your CV would be really useful.
yeah.
Um, to that, I would say kind of a lot of non-relevant information
Yeah.
when people involve. I don't know. I don't want to kind of give a false example that people kind of
Sure.
could point out to me and said, yeah, Milosh told that's not a good thing, but maybe
Yeah.
for some other people it could be. But
Right.
if someone involves information that are not relevant at all regarding a certain job, that is a kind of a thing which will make kind of recruiters and hiring managers not to not proceed him. CV that has no information at all, for example, just job title, then that's kind of, I would say, a worst case, because I can assume, referring to the previous thing that I said, is something that I've noticed a lot. People are saying that it's one pager, yeah, but you need at least kind of to share one or two information that are key points, like at least that. And yeah, I would say that's more or less all that I can kind of point out in a short time.
No, but that's some really good points, though. I mean, like, I think one of the common things, as you were talking about, right, is keeping things relevant. And I think sometimes it's very easy to kind of, but we just kind of resend, this CV, we resend this resume, and we'll let them deal with it. They know what to look for. But then again, you kind of like that extra effort, it's going to take you what, 10, 15 minutes just refurbishing your CV a little bit for that specific role, your cover letter, of course, as well, to kind of just keep it relevant, right? And then obviously sometimes, I guess, I mean, like, you're the expert here, but sometimes, it's kind of, you want to try to share, I did a lot of things, right? But sometimes doing a lot of things, if it's not relevant, it doesn't really matter, So I mean, like, jump in if I'm saying anything wrong here, but but yeah. So I mean, like, I think it's some key lessons here you're bringing up that those that are listening here, should think about. And I mean, like, doesn't matter if you're a student, if you're 40, 50, you can always improve, and it's always important to look at, okay, some advice for people that are, and I guess in a sense the recruitment space kind of have shifted a little bit as well. How you're evaluating candidates is always improving, right? And it's always adjusting to the industry, what kind of role. So it's all part of the journey.
Sure, yeah, I can fully agree, to be honest. And a lot of recruiters kind of does not decide on their own if they need to kind of reject someone. It's kind of always a conversation with a hiring manager, or it was in my case, to be honest. I know that I have the full responsibility for that, and when I get a feeling, when you work for certain years in a certain industry, you get a feeling if someone could do the job. But I'm kind of still and 1% or not 1%, I would say 10-15% on the side of candidates always, and tend to kind of present a profile, even though if I know that a certain hiring manager could say no. I'm always kind of trying an extra point to win an extra point from everyone else, even if it's too general. I try to pull out the insights from everything else and try to present them. As I said, I'm trying to just to do my job on one way or another.
That's great. So obviously, you guys are obviously recruiting a lot of roles actually as Sportradar across the globe. But if you could go kind of like, I guess, in a sense, a bit on a over level perspective of what you guys are looking for in potential candidates, maybe focus a little bit on your market first and foremost. Maybe mentioning some roles and just overall, like, what are some things that is important for Sportradar, when they're looking.
I would say kind of, I won't dive deep into details in the technical stuff, what they should, what certain candidates should bring with, but yeah. I can share, like, there are at least few roles that have something in common. They are kind of in between the engineering team and the business team. So for these particular roles, I can kind of share the titles. It would be kind of product owner or program manager, program delivery lead. They all have to have kind of a good communication skills. This is something really crucial. It's not someone who will kind of get into the job and hide behind it. Someone who will kind of engage with people, who will have a strong communication skills and still, from one side, to translate the insights and translate the information, because the tech world, it's separate world from the business world, and these particular people need to understand a bit of or not a bit, they should have a good understanding of technical stuff, of technical things, and to translate or use the language that the business people, I would say, kind of, that are not technical, with no technical background, could understand. And all these three positions that I mentioned has to have this particular attitude to that. I would say kind of because they work with people, they need to have a bit of understanding of other people. Like there is a certain feeling. I won't say it's a difficult to understand, but a bit of experience with a leadership experience, and at least kind of to manage people, to coordinate them in a certain way, to be able to understand why, for example, one is under pressure and how to handle that a certain situation. That would be kind of a second point that these three roles would have in common.
Right.
What else? I think that there are kind of the two. I cannot go out and say there is a muster or any kind of an example of a perfect candidate that we're seeking, but it's more kind of a different from a position to position, to be honest.
Yeah, but it's a good point. I think you touch upon the communication side of things, right? Especially also you say working both with engineers and working on the business side. I mean, like that's two different languages, and in the world almost. So you gotta kind of extract the engineering knowledge and then kind of explain it so the business people understands it.
For
Right.
sure, and that's kind of the one of the critical roles that we have, or
Right.
more critical roles that we have in
sure.
Sportradar, and in every team we're working on it with agile methods, and there are kind of a certain people there. There is kind of a software development team or software engineering teams, and a lot of tech roles, and there is kind of someone who will monitor them and support them
Right.
during that time, so they could kind of go on and work on target.
Yep. So lastly here, before we wrap up, I just wanted to kind of ask you about, and you've been providing some great tips already, but if you have like, some tips for students, looking to work in the sport industry, and how can they, stand out on their resume profile? Like what are some good ways to stand out?
Mm, that's a really good question. I myself, I've struggled as a student. I've struggled as well, kind of to get into a bigger corporation, I would say, and then kind of find my way into sports industry. I would say they need to be transparent. Why did, for example, if a certain job junior position for or account executive is there to be filled, they need to invest a little bit more time and try to, first of all, connect with a lot of people, gain a bit of a network, and
Right.
try to reach out to people to understand a bit more of business. And when they apply, to invest 10 minutes of their time and express themselves why they could be the ones that could get the job. For example, there is a thing that everybody will say, nobody reads cover letters or anything else, but I'm pretty sure that if you invested a lot of time, and you can kind of go out after submitting your application with a better feeling that you've done everything that you could from one way or another.
Right. Right.
Besides that, to try to get as early as possible in their part of career into any kind of apprenticeships or any kind of internships that would be kind of really useful, even for a week, or any kind of voluntary work that would be really useful, that has not impact but involvement with the actual role they're applying for. For example, if someone was kind of selling tickets for a certain match, then he or she or they applied, and then afterwards for a strategy role, it would be kind of difficult to understand where they came with the idea if they have no background behind it. So people need to be transparent as well to themselves, or honest to themselves. This is something that we see a lot of people that are not, I won't say honest to themselves, but kind of they're having a bit different expectation that the reality is.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Um,
it's a common. I mean, like I think as you were saying, right? A lot of people expect a lot of things, and I guess as well, the sport industry is a very passionate industry, right? It's a very attractive industry, and sometimes
mhm,
you kind of expect, oh, we're gonna get like a big role after completing your bachelor or master, in the field, right? And kind of understanding, like, because of the high competition too, it's there's a lot
sure.
of people fighting about the same roles, and that's why I also wanted to bring up, the way to stand out, right? And essentially what you're saying is, spend that extra time, to really fine tune your resume, take the time to speak with the company, understanding
Mhm.
what it is all about, so you can prepare yourself in the best possible way.
I'm pretty sure that every recruiter out there in any kind of sports company has a 50 minutes to kind of explain what certain role is before even kind of certain candidate could apply. They could kind of reach to them and say, "Hey, hi, I'm interested in the role. Can you kind of provide me an informations about the hiring manager? Who's the hiring manager? Can I contact them?" Or thereby you can kind of buy yourself a more kind of more tickets to success, I would say, in a
Right.
certain way. And also what I've noticed in the past few years is a lot of people think that because I have a background as well, I played football and I thought maybe I could work in sports industry, but working and kind of liking sports is kind of two different things, and they need to be aware of that. And
Yeah.
as soon as there is a question, why would you like kind of to work in sports industry? They said, I played football for my whole life. Yeah, it doesn't kind of appeal that you could be successful in a sports industry. You need to kind of understand that sports industry is kind of a business, and every football club or kind of basketball club or any kind of a company that operates in the sports industry is kind of a business like any other.
Right. Right. No, 100%. And at the end of the day, you just gotta in- increase your knowledge in the space, and there's a lot of ways to do that. Of course. And I think it's a perfect way to wrap up here, Milosh. And with that, of course, I'd like to thank you so much for taking the time, for sharing your insights, some tips, some requirements, I guess, on a overview level of what you guys are looking for, some key roles there, which is great. And yeah, I mean, like, I don't know if you have any final remarks you want to mention before we wrap up.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm quite happy to get the opportunity and the invitation from you, Ole, and looking forward to our next time, for example, in a few months or somewhere, if you kind of invite me back. I hope I didn't kind of share too much information that are kind of not useful at all, and your listeners will say, "Yeah, I don't bring Milosh back again." But yeah, it was really fun experience, to be honest.
Well, I'm glad you liked it, and of course, I'm sure the community and audience will enjoy this episode is a lot, because there's always great to get tips, from the people that are actually taking the recruiting decisions, looking at a lot of resumes and insights. So that's always helpful. So with that, of course, I would like to thank you once again for taking the time, and for those of you that have been here all the way at the end, make sure to like the video, subscribe as well, so you get weekly tips from industry leaders like Milosh, sharing their insights, tips, what they're working on, and for you to help you get a career in sports. And if you haven't already, of course, sign up at sportingglobal.com to utilize that as a resource to connect with the right kind of people, find relevant programs and job opportunities, and excel in your sports career. We also have, if you want to increase your knowledge, some amazing courses from great organizations at academy.sportingglobal.com. So check that out. And Milosh, as kind of like to wrap up here, we kind of have like a podcast tradition, which you might be familiar with if you've seen some of our episodes. But I have to teach you a little bit Norwegian before we wrap up.
Sure.
So with every video we do, we always finish with "Vi snakkes," which means see you later in Norwegian. So that's what you have to say.
Um, Let me try a first one. It will be "We snakkes."
Yeah, "vi snakkes." That's it.
Should I repeat it again?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
"We snakkes," everyone.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Milos. It was a really great pleasure having you part of this, and really good Norwegian as well. So thank you so much. And as always, vi snakkes.
Bis nachher.